cosmopolitan. Half of the voters in Georgia live in Atlanta, and nobody is a native Atlantan. Okay, they're all from somewhere else, just like Miami or Florida. Okay, so if we can do it, any state can do it. They're doing it elsewhere, and it's what we call the Georgia model. We come into a state, we ask you to educate. How do you do that? Well, the first and easiest way to do that is to get the press engaged. So you identify some spokespeople, obviously somebody that's articulate and can explain the issue well in front of a camera, and you announce yourself, and all of a sudden all the cameras are on the personhood element in that state, because we're extreme. We're non-compromising. We take no prisoners. In the political establishment, we ask you to organize as a 501c3 and a 501c4. The umbrella organization is the 501c4 for they're non-tax deductible in their structure. The board of the 501c4 can be the same board, it can be, it doesn't have to be, that runs the 501c3, the tax deductible portion of Personhood Education New York. Personhood New York Education would be the name of the organization, 501c3. All of your donations, tax deductible, could be collected through Personhood New York Education. It has to be incorporated according to the state laws of New York, so you need some help legally, and possibly with a CPA's help, can get the filings done. You then elect a board of directors to run the two groups, and you establish a New York PAC, Personhood PAC in New York, to endorse and advocate for the election or defeat of candidates for public office or issues such as ballot initiatives and so on and so forth. That PAC will not, it must conform to what we call our Memorandum of Understanding. Now, anybody here, and we need a sign-up at some point for those that wish to be given a copy of the Memorandum of Understanding. Don has it, and we'll be glad to email it to you.
I didn't print it.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. That lists our principles. It's just what we do in every state. We will not endorse a candidate that has rape and incest exceptions, or that advocates for fetal anomalies, or that doesn't support a change to their own state constitution where government here in the state recognizes the inalienable right to life. If they will not do that or sign an affirmation, then they don't get the endorsement. And only those candidates that do that do get the endorsement. And we are not kingmakers. You know how the religious right has got a bad reputation for wanting a seat at the table, and what do you do to gain a seat at the table? Well, you compromise. Politics is the art of compromise. We're talking about children's lives. We're talking about people's lives. We don't compromise in that arena. We are non-compromising, and we hold a standard. We find where the biblical standard is, and that's where we hold. And we hold at all costs, and we will require all men and women to meet that standard. It's that simple. And we've been successful in Georgia, and everywhere we take this, North Dakota, we removed the politicians that opposed us and replaced them with strong, passionate, pro-life statesmen and women. We're not looking for politicians that are pro-life and tack pro-life on. In fact, we're looking to remove what we call PRINOs, pro-life Republicans in name only. Okay? Moderate Republicans that tack pro-life on, that don't give us the legislation we require, don't stand when it's important that they stand, and don't challenge the status quo. So, we're an organization that is very aggressive in our political action, and we have a lot of our out-of-country donors that are passionate about changing American politics to be more pro-life. So we've got a lot of resources at hand that we can bring to the table and help you with in getting your organization established, getting it filed and listed with the government, establishing your PAC both at a federal and a state level. And so that's 4 entities that we will help you set up. Your 501c4 committee, we call it, your Personhood New York Committee, Inc., your Personhood New York Education, your Personhood New York PAC, and your Personhood New York Federal PAC, state PAC and federal PAC. 4 entities. And we use those to educate, to involve in political action, and we hope will represent at the state capitol, Albany, is that right?
Yes.
Capital?
Yes.
Going back to the 3rd grade here. And that we will have a full-time office in Albany to lobby the legislators on an ongoing basis. So that's the objective, and I've got time for questions. Yes, sir.
The 4 entities, or there are 2 entities with the filings with the federal and the state? It's not 4 entities, right? It's 2 entities. The 501c3 has to file with the federal and the state. 501c4 has to file with the federal and the state. What's the Charities Bureau and the other ones?
The federal PAC has to file with the a federal report if you exceed a certain amount of contributions or
So
spending.
The question was...
Yeah, you were right. You were right.
2 entities.
2 entities.
I understand.
Yes. Yeah. Are you an accountant or?
CPA.
Thank you. 1023, 1024, 1023. As entities, you are absolutely right. Everything falls under these entities. Obviously, the PACs roll up under the 501c4. Okay?
You've discussed this with quite a few Christian groups. Have you just discussed this with any Jewish groups or Buddhists or Muslims or Hindus or any other religious groups?
We have opened it to all of those groups, and there have been no takers.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But we're not exclusive, no. But we are not ashamed of our faith, because it is the church through the ages that has stood firm throughout Western culture. And so we're unashamed to say that. But we're open. I mean, we're very open to work with anybody that will work with us. So the coalitions that we form are around that single issue. Yes, ma'am.
The 98% human
Cow.
Cowboy.
Cowboy.
Would there be any like
Would they be?
more noticeable differences?
2% is a pretty noticeable. They're not sure that they would survive to term, but we don't know what China's doing. We don't know what North Korea is doing in this area.
So what you're saying, sir, on that issue, what you're saying is they're in the process of developing it, but it hasn't happened, you don't know what it looks like?
The Bush doctrine required that they be destroyed at 14 days. Science right now here in America would frown upon bringing anything like that to term, including human reproductive cloning. They claim to be self-policing in that regard. I heard testimony over and over from the scientific community saying we would run any group that does this in America out on a rail. But there's no regulation. I mean, self-regulation is an oxymoron. I mean, anybody that diets knows that self-regulation is ineffectual at best. But it is possible. The cowboys are 98% human, 2% cow in these cases, but they're doing it with other animal hybrids. Human-animal hybrid, we just don't know. I mean, to me, it's blasphemous. If we're created in the image of God, that's part of what we should be protecting is, that image in man, not being corrupted by man. I can actually take you through, as part of the seminar, a 45-minute emerging technology portion in which we show you what the science is doing. National Right to Life's convention in 2005